Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of my favorite topics, creating a self-sustaining, closed ecosystem terrarium. It's like building a miniature world in a jar, a tiny slice of nature that takes care of itself. Now it sounds complex, but I promise, by the end of this video, you'll have all the knowledge you need to build your very own. We'll go through the entire process, step by step, from picking the perfect container to choosing the right plants and critters. This is more than just a craft project. It's a fascinating lesson in biology, ecology, and patience. So if you've ever been captivated by the idea of a living, breathing ecosystem on your shelf, you're in the right place. Let's get our hands dirty and create something truly magical. First things first, let's talk about the most crucial element, your container. For a closed terrarium, you need a sealable glass vessel. Think large jars with cork stoppers, apothecary jars with lids, or even those big glass carboys. The key here is sealable. A closed system needs to trap moisture to create its own water cycle. Clear glass is also essential so that sunlight can get in for photosynthesis. The size of your container matters too. A larger container is actually more forgiving and easier to balance than a smaller one. It provides a more stable environment with less dramatic fluctuations in temperature and humidity. So if you're a beginner, I'd recommend starting with something at least a gallon in size. Make sure it's thoroughly cleaned with soap and water and completely dry before you start adding any layers. Any lingering bacteria can cause problems down the line. Now for the foundation of your world, the drainage layer. This is non-negotiable. Without proper drainage, water will pool at the bottom, creating a swampy, anaerobic environment that will rot your plant's roots. It's not good. So, for the very bottom layer, you'll want to add about an inch or two of drainage material. Common choices include small pebbles, gravel, leca, which stands for lightweight expanded clay aggregate, or even recycled glass beads. This layer creates a reservoir for excess water to collect, keeping it away from the plant roots. It also helps with aeration. The depth of this layer really depends on the size of your container. For a standard 1-gallon jar, an inch is plenty. For a much larger 5-gallon carboy, you might want to go closer to 2 inches. It's all about creating that safety net for your little ecosystem. On top of your drainage layer, you'll want to add a barrier. This is a simple but vital step that many people skip. The purpose of this barrier is to prevent your soil from mixing with the drainage layer. If the soil trickles down, it will clog up the gaps in your gravel, defeating the purpose of the drainage layer entirely. So what can you use? A piece of mesh screen, like the kind you find for windows, works perfectly. You can also use a thin layer of sphagnum moss or even a piece of landscape fabric cut to size. Just lay it flat over the gravel, making sure it covers the entire surface. This thin little layer acts as a gatekeeper, keeping everything in its proper place and ensuring the long-term health and stability of your terrarium's foundation. It's a quick step that saves you a lot of potential headaches later. Next up, we need to add a layer of activated charcoal, also known as activated carbon. Think of this as your terrarium's filtration system. In a closed environment, organic matter will naturally break down. And without any airflow, this can lead to funky smells and the growth of mold and mildew. Activated charcoal is incredibly porous, and it works by absorbing these impurities, toxins, and odors from the soil and water. It essentially keeps the environment clean and fresh. You only need a thin layer, maybe about 1/2 centimeter to 1 centimeter thick, spread evenly over your mesh barrier. You can find horticultural charcoal at most garden centers. Don't skip this step. It's the secret ingredient to keeping your sealed world healthy and odor-free for years to come. It's the janitor of your tiny ecosystem, working tirelessly behind the scenes. Now it's time for the main event, the substrate, or as most of us call it, the soil. You can't just use any old dirt from your backyard. Garden soil is too dense, compacts easily, and often contains pests or fungi that would run rampant in a closed, humid environment. You need a specialized terrarium mix. Good mix is light, airy, and well-draining. You can buy pre-made mixes, or you can create your own. A classic recipe is 1 part peat moss or coco coria for moisture retention, 1 part perlite or pumice for aeration, and 1 part orchid bark or worm castings for nutrients. Before you add it to your terrarium, you should moisten it. You want it to be damp like a wrung-out sponge, but not soaking wet. Add a generous layer, at least a couple of inches deep, so your plants have plenty of room for their roots to grow and establish themselves. With our layers in place, it's time for the fun part: planting. The key to a successful closed terrarium is choosing plants that thrive in high humidity and low light. Think about a forest floor. Ferns, mosses, photonia or nerve plants, pilea, and small creeping plants are all excellent choices. Avoid succulents and cacti at all costs. They need dry, arid conditions and will quickly rot in a humid terrarium. Before you plant, think about your design. Place taller plants in the back and shorter ones in the front to create a sense of depth. Use long tools like chopsticks or terrarium tongs to help you dig small holes and place your plants carefully. Gently firm the soil around their base. Don't overcrowd the jar. Remember, these plants will grow, so give them some space to fill in over time. Once your plants are in, it's time to introduce the cleanup crew. These are tiny invertebrates, or microfauna, that will act as the janitors of your ecosystem. The most popular choices are springtails and isopods, like dwarf white or dairy cow isopods. What do? They are detritivores, which means they eat decaying organic matter, like fallen leaves and mold. Springtails are fantastic at preventing mold outbreaks, while isopods help aerate the soil and break down waste. They are essential for creating a truly bioactive and self-sustaining system. By consuming waste, they recycle nutrients back into the soil for the plants to use. You can order these little critters online. A small starter culture is all you need. Just sprinkle them onto the soil, and they will quickly make themselves at home and start their important work. The final step before sealing your world is watering. This is perhaps the most delicate part of the entire process. The goal is to add just enough water to kickstart the water cycle, but not so much that you drown everything. Remember, once the jar is sealed, that water is trapped in there forever. A good rule of thumb is to use a spray bottle or a pipette to add water slowly. Mist the sides of the glass and the surface of the soil until the substrate is moist, but again, not waterlogged. You should see some condensation on the glass. A good sign is if the glass fogs up for part of the day, usually in the morning, and then clears up by the afternoon. If it's constantly foggy and dripping, you've added too much water. In that case, just leave the lid off for a day or two to let some excess moisture evaporate. Now, you can finally seal your terrarium. Place the lid on and find a good spot for it. Closed terrarium needs bright, indirect light. Never place it in direct sunlight. The glass will act like a greenhouse, trapping heat and literally cooking your plants. A spot a few feet away from a north-facing or east-facing window is usually perfect. For the first few weeks, keep a close eye on it. Observe the condensation cycle. Prune any yellowing leaves. If you see any mold, you might need to add more springtails. It's all about finding that perfect balance. A well-balanced, closed terrarium can last for years, even decades, with zero maintenance. You've created a tiny, self-sufficient biosphere. It's a living piece of art that will evolve and change over time. And that's the complete methodology for creating your very own closed ecosystem terrarium. It's a process that combines science, art, and a little bit of patience. From choosing the right container and layering your substrates to selecting the perfect plants and cleanup crew, every step is crucial for long-term success. The initial setup takes some effort, but the reward is a beautiful, maintenance-free miniature world that you can enjoy for years. I hope this guide has inspired you to give it a try. It's such a rewarding project. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I love seeing your creations, so feel free to tag us on social media. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Green Thumb adventures. Happy building!